button. So here we are again.
Yay.
Welcome each and every one to another live Living in the Flow with dear Tanya. And what a ride it's been for the last, since the last time we spoke. The energies are so full on, and it kind of feels like we're surfing up and down. Like that's what it feels like to me, you know, all of a sudden, like, for example, the last couple of days, there was such low energy points for me. So I just have to I get really tired all of a sudden when all those flares come in, and I have to go and take a nap, and it almost feels like I can't even move. And then the energies go up, like, you know, like, and I feel like one of those conductors that's kind of conducts the energies. Go up more. You can do it. And it just sort of explodes into kind of joy and this exuberance of life. And we need to know how to snowboard. We need to know how to ski down these huge slopes. We need to know how to surf these waves of energies. And, you know, when the energy is down, and we need to know how to just stop, come back inside and just relax into it. And isn't it just an incredible journey? I'm just enjoying the whole experience. And I know that, you know, sometimes it can be really almost, you know, feels hard to say something like that, because so many people are going through such difficulties. And yet, you know, because of all of the work that we've done, we're sort of reaping and harvesting the benefits of this. And we can really demonstrate to others how it's possible to really feel this joy and live this joy and bubble up this joy, and just this zest for life, for colors, for dance, for music. You know, sometimes I feel myself like a conductor. If you haven't tried, like when you experience this big storm, for example, in the weather, if you haven't gone out and be a conductor of the storm, it's a wonderful experience when you're sort of conducting the lightnings and the thunder and stuff. It's very thrilling. So that's how I kind of feel with this energy. So if you haven't tried that, do it next time when you have a storm. Just dance with it, and you can see how you can really feel into the energies and feel yourself part of everything, of this incredible, colorful, delicious, sensual, scented joy of life. Over to you, dear Tanya.
Yes. Exactly. It's like, for me, I qualified it as being intensely alive. And then it's so full on that it's like, where the hell is all of this energy coming from? But I can do it. I mean, I've got all of this energy, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, now I have to rest. I just can't take anymore. I just have to go and take a nap. And I do exactly what you're saying. And then again, it's just so full on. But the thing that is different, there are so many things that are different, but one of the things that is different is that it is not overwhelming. I find it incredible, because initially when my dance with soul and all of the merging and integration was happening, and that sometimes it felt overwhelmingly intense. It felt like, oh my God, I just need to catch my breath. This is too much. And then I'd say, no, okay, this is not too much. This is just me. This is just the whole of me coming together. And then I would become more adjustable, more flexible. But now it's like I've stretched beyond having the limits. So there are no limits. And therefore, I am not pressing against anything. So it doesn't feel overwhelming. So even when it gets like over the board intense, like, oh my God, how can all of this be happening at once? And and I'm handling it. It's like, wow, what capacity. And even my intelligence, my capacity, like for a long while, there was a time where I couldn't multitask or like listen. as a kid, I always could listen and speak and do something else at the same time. And then through my integration process and after I went into this blankness of wholeness, and then just everything started building up from there. For a long time, I was not capable of, like if I was reading something and someone's talking to me, I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't. And now, recently, I noticed, because this happens with my kids all the time. And so sometimes I'm writing a message or, you know, reading an email or something, and one of them comes and says something, and they know I just, you know, forget it. I can't process both things at the same time. And all of a sudden I can again. So it's like, oh my God, for crying out loud. I thought this would never, like, it had gone. Like, you know, it was just part of the process of changing into more wholeness or something, that it's just gone. And all of a sudden, now I'm writing a message or something, and someone speaks to me and I can get it. And it's like, oh, wow. So it doesn't, like, it never stops. It never stops evolving and unfolding. And what I find with this living directly from the essence, and so never saying no to any invitation, is that I'm always stretched out to the limit, always stretched out to the limit, but there are no limits. So it's like, how much can I, being physically human, handle? And then I find out I can handle it all. And then all of a sudden, something new comes up that is even more of a stretch, not only of a stretch of imagination, as in, wow, is this even conceivable? But a stretch of being able to be flexible, to let something that seems too big or like too complex, like something that I can't really understand, and then letting it, but it comes to me and invites me to play with it, and but I just can't get it. But I don't say no, and it starts sinking in, and until the moment where it's, gosh, this is so simple, so absolutely simple. And so it's like all of a sudden everything just switches on of its own accord, because I don't know how to figure things out. I just simply do not have that capacity anymore. It's gone. Figuring out does not exist. So it's like either I get it sooner or later, or I don't. But the interesting thing is that nothing seems too complex to eventually land in my conscious awareness and perception and capability to grasp. And also, so no more overwhelm. Finally being able to listen and write and read at the same time, and it's not a big deal. And then things that seem complex becoming so absolutely simple. I can't remember the moment where I couldn't understand it. Basically, it's like, so it's being permanently in the now moment. So if I'm in the now moment, that it's, whoa, this is a lot. It's a lot, let it be. Whoa, this is complex. Well, whatever it is, but I'm not fighting against it or trying to figure it out. And then just allowing things to land and settle. So it's like I'm a big flask of golden sparkles, and they land gradually, and then my golden ground becomes more and more bountiful, basically. So I see all of these new events, new evolutions with myself as just sparkles. And the other fantastic thing is that now, so people talk about, that the world's going crazy and that there's so much stuff going on and all that. There is no other world for me. It's like, I can't see it, but I have no judgment around it. So it doesn't affect me one little bit, not in pity, not in struggle, not in wanting to sort of go out and fix something for someone, not in having the idea, oh my God, that's so wrong or whatever, it's just simply does not have any effect on my perception of my reality. So my reality is now definitely a separate reality, a parallel reality that is so absolutely tangible and real that it's no longer strange. For a long time, while it was becoming tangible and really materializing, it felt strange sometimes because it felt like I was walking in two worlds. Like for part of me was experiencing the world of duality, and part of me was experiencing this new earth, or whatever we want to call it. And now I don't feel that anymore. It's just this. There is nothing else. And that makes it so much easier to communicate with that other world, because I no longer feel any judgment around it. I no longer have to say, this is right and this is wrong. This should be happening and this shouldn't be happening. I just go about creating what I want to be happening as the world that I see, perceive, and conceive of and know is possible. I just go about creating it, irrespective of, sometimes people come and say, oh, wow, that idea is really great, but they can have all the buts they want, but I have no buts at all. It's like, yeah, this is it. This is exactly what we're creating right now. And so it's so new. It is really new. It is really different. But these key things that I pointed out are for me the most amazing. And so, yeah, of course, if I see someone in struggle and suffering, well, yeah, it is, it could be different. The thing is, because my vision, my perception has, I don't know, it's just so much, even much better, much more clear than it was before. So I can see for that person what it could be. So I know that the choice is there, and I know that it's okay that the person is experiencing whatever it is that they're experiencing right now, and that is their reality, and that's just fine. Because I also know their other world. I also know their other possibilities, and they're right there. They're so clear to me. It's like, okay. And if someone comes,
I love that expression on your face.
Yeah, it's like, okay, whatever. And the thing is, I see the aspects, and I see whatever they're doing, saying, thinking, and I have no judgment, and I cannot tell the person, this is this aspect and that, if they don't ask me, obviously, right? So I'm not here to point anything out for anyone. Of course, if someone asks me, I can help them find it. I still don't point it out ever. I've never been into that, and I find that is not useful, because when you point something out that a person is not ready to grasp, it can be more harmful than positive, because it just creates more havoc and turmoil. So if one can grasp it, fine. If it's not the moment, fine. There's no point, telling people the things you can see about them and about their possibilities and
the thing
whatever.
is, it's also like, it's how can I say, it's funny how, when we used to watch in the movies, there was this thing, well, still is the big thing, oh, someone can read someone's mind, or
Yeah, it
when
seemed
they
like
can
a
see
big deal.
but then when you actually start realizing that
It's
thoughts are
normal.
just thoughts, and they fly around, and then some people pull them into their brain and own them,
Right.
and they're not even their thoughts, and how easy
Many
it is
of
to
them
actually
aren't.
and how easy it is to read people's thoughts, because they're just generalized. It's not, people don't really have new thoughts and stuff, so it
Right.
becomes very uninteresting. Like for me, I don't really even want to know about the ins and outs of people, like how people who can't see it think, oh, it would be so awesome to know what other person is thinking. Then when you can actually exactly, what for? Like, I just want to enjoy my own space, my own world.
Yeah.
Why would I want to even
at the
know?
moment, I sometimes have to sort of
to turn away
because this has become so vivid that it's like I have to consciously choose, but I don't care, because people's aspects jump at me like because they want recognition, they want compassion, they want acceptance, and I just no, I don't want to know, just leave me alone, go away.
Because it's you or me or anyone else. If we can keep accepting other people's aspects, but they want acceptance from that person, that's the only thing that will ever satisfy them. So that's why it's pointless to keep acknowledging someone else's unfulfilled aspects, isn't
exactly. Of course, they don't know that. The aspects themselves that are disintegrated don't know that. The only thing they want is acknowledgement, and that's it. But easily I just say, no, just go about being you.
I mean, for me now, I take it so much with humor, like you so beautifully explained this, how it's easy now to move. For me too, it's easy now to move in and out of all of these different worlds, and it doesn't actually, I have no hooks, and it doesn't hook me, and yet, I kind of keep humor about it, because like you said, it doesn't even affect me. It's kind of like, I don't know, sometimes I've wondered, like you, no, it doesn't affect me like you, but I've wondered sometimes, my gosh, have I completely lost all compassion or something, like, or my kindness or what, because I can actually see all of this, but it doesn't actually invoke any feelings or any woundedness inside, or like you said,
or any revolution or any need to, go out and do something about
it. That's it, and be this rebel. And the thing is, like in the past, for me, I was such a good rebel, and I loved battle. It's like, oh, there's battle. Oh, there's someone in trouble.
Let's go and see what's going on.
Which swords am I taking? Oh, look, I'll take all of my swords, not just one. What if I need this one for this? I need this one for that. Off into battle, Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And now I can look at it back, and I'm thinking, what an incredible experience, and to forget myself and to forget who I am, and to really take one side, and then to really go and battle the dark side, and of course I always looked at myself as the light side.
Well, of course, I mean, we always see it that way, right?
It was loads and loads of fun, and now it's just a different kind of fun. And for me, like in, this thing, to be able to see the depths, like what you explained, so all these multis, like this multi-D, I noticed, especially the first time I noticed this really was because more and more people are combining a number of different songs together. You know how you have one song and then another goes with the same beat, and then you can add 3 or 4 and play them at the same time if they have the same kind of beat. And in the old days that would just be overwhelming and just a bunch of noise, but now it's just this beautiful melody, and it represents to myself how all of these different kind of dimensions of worlds or parts that we live and inhabit as a wholeness, how they beautifully dance, even though they seem like they sound differently or feel differently. but they dance together in this incredible harmony, and yet at the same time, holding their own shape and space within, so that you can easily recognize if you want to focus just on this one thing. And I also noticed how my point of my focus has become much more how not under my control, but I notice it much more. So how I can focus, how I can widen the focus, or how I can really pinpoint that focus. So, but it's not stuck in any one reality. I'm kind of feel now that I'm the one doing the focusing, like before, for example, the reality, the physical reality, it looked like I can't unfocus from just the physical reality because we were a little bit stuck in there. That's what it felt like. But now all of a sudden I can focus and unfocus and refocus into all these different realities. And for me, also another thing, I've started working with many more beings all of a sudden, from other planets, especially Sirius at the moment. And it's just this incredibly beautiful energies. And I know that, for many in the past, they said, okay, so we're not, we're just focusing on the human life. And it was the time, but then comes the time when you realize, wow, I am a being of I'm a galactic being, just like when I was in Slovenia and I was little, that was my whole world, and it was right that I was just focusing on that. And then as you grow and perhaps travel and move, then your world becomes bigger and it keeps encompassing more and more different kinds of people. And so in the same way now, for me, not for everyone, for me now is the time to really enlarge my scope of things. And it's just been incredible to feel the kind of fine energies that are also physical. They have their own physicalness, but they're very, very different to what I'm used to. And so in this way, I don't know, there's just so much happening at the same time, and it doesn't feel like it has any relevance, for someone, for example, if there's someone who is still in the throes of their pain and in the dark night of the soul, whatever, that expression is. But really, it affects, how can I say, it continually changes one's energy, because it's like, when you meet someone who is very closed in and lives in a small box, it's very different than to meeting someone who is what we call worldly, and now we can become galactically in the same sense. And when you kind of meet someone like that, you just learn, your world keeps expanding, and your views and points of views and experiences and perspectives, everything kind of expands in this incredible way. So for me too, I'm in my own parallel world, and because like you also have stopped really rescuing and saving the world. So much of the stuff has really come home, and I'm kind of really in a new way now discovering who I really am, what my wants are, what I enjoy doing, what I want to experience next. And it might actually be quite different to what I've known, because like for so long we've been focusing on changing the vibration of the planet, and now that that's done, that ball is now rolling. And for many of us, it feels like, our job is done now. The ball is rolling, it's unstoppable. How we just go with it and flow with it. There's nothing else to do. And that too it means now it translates into my life how much simpler it is. That it feels like I have so much time and so much space to just be. And it doesn't feel like I have to go anywhere. It doesn't feel like I have to travel anywhere. It doesn't feel like I have to, because I always before was just so much stuff to do, to process, to transform, to integrate, blah, 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 all of these things. And now it kind of feels like life is just such a simplicity. And all of a sudden, like you said, things happen, all of a sudden a new opportunity happens. But it feels like I just have all this time to just do this and do that. And sometimes, my mind does take a holiday in these kind of energies. Sometimes I can't even think. I can't think, and the dates don't make any sense to me. The times don't make any sense to me. And somehow, because we have this freedom, we've organized ourselves into such a free beings, that we have that flexibility in our daily life, that I can just postpone and say, okay, I can't do it today, these kind of things, I can actually do it tomorrow. Today I'm just going to relax and maybe just take a nap because so much is going on, or go for a walk or something like that. So I've been really able to flow very organically with what my body is feeling and on what the energies are doing, rather than trying to control and organize all of these things. And and then everything somehow does fall into place by itself, because the time has somehow stretched, or something. That's how it sort of feels to me, that at times I feel myself like I'm really floating very slowly. That's how my perception is. And then at the same time, it feels like I'm going 100 miles an hour. Some parts of me are just going at such incredible speeds that I wasn't even possible that I could be aware of parts of me that are going at such incredible speeds. Another thing for me that I've noticed is how easily now I kind of shift and change with all these facets of myself, like I perceive myself as this me, myself, what this oneness of being. And then at the same time, it's like all of this, like Hydra. Is it in the Greek mythology? Is that's the being Hydra, this being that has so many heads, they keep coming up. And that's how it feels like, all these facets of myself, whatever I need, it just boom comes up, and there I am all of a sudden, a different facet, and then a different facet. It's been quite fascinating to experience that. And what the spaces that we've entered, they are quite hard to explain, don't you find? They are very, very difficult to be explained,
because
them.
They're new for us too. Like we're just discovering this right now. So until it actually lands into normalcy, it's not easy to explain. Then you become able to explain later on, each time as it lands and becomes normal. But it's also new, also unexplored.
And I'm not even sure that a lot of this stuff will be able to ever really put words to.
Yeah, the thing is not really explaining, is sharing the experience more like
it. Yeah. And I find also that people are very perceptive. That's what I find really quite fascinating to notice. Like I sort of change some perspective or something, and then all of a sudden I find that all over the world people have the same perspective, and then I'm thinking, have people changed? Has humanity changed? Has Earth changed? Have I changed? What's happened? Yesterday was a different world. Today all of a sudden I find like this instant mirroring of what when you change, and instantly you find this mirror. And so I'm thinking, all of the things that I was able to in the past say about, let's say, humanity was like this, or like that, or in the old days was like this, actually it's not even true anymore. Because what can I say? What is that defined truth? There isn't a defined truth, because when I change my perspective and then I look at the history,
then you
all of a sudden it's a different history. Like, for example, there was this video I watched, like I used to see the black and white pictures of the old worlds, old times, the 1800s and 1700s. And there were all these people looking serious and sad faces, and, as if they were depressed, because that's how I used to see that time, just black and white and dark kind of time. And all of a sudden, I thought, maybe the history isn't like that. I changed some kind of the way I view it. And all of a sudden, like, this video popped up with all of these, old pictures. And I could see that these faces really look so interesting, so deep and rich and individualistic. And I'm thinking, what history was I looking at before? Even those kind of, I know there are these kind of examples can feel little or insignificant even, but it's just something that I can explain how how everything is just really changing, the future and the past, and my own story. And it almost is very hard to even remember, like if I sort of read someone, okay, and they're talking about how they're depressed or whatever, and I'm thinking, wow, it's even hard to even remember
It's
what
hard
that
to
feels
conceive.
like.
Yeah.
Because like now this depression, to feel that lonely or alone or disconnected, it is just kind of out of my
It's foreign.
experience. Yeah. It's like,
But
how
it,
can
it
it
was there.
possibly
We used to
be?
know what it was like.
Yeah, we used to know. And so some of these kind of parts of self are now really becoming or have become strangers, and it's not like,
Mm,
again, in a way that I can push them away and not own them. No, we own all of these things, and yet
yeah.
we just can't relate to them in such a way as we used to did. Yet everything is changing in a glorious way. And then again, another whole nother topic is other people. Even people that I used to think were I thought, oh, this person is old-fashioned, or this person is closed, or this person just doesn't see the way I see the world. And I constantly are being surprised at just how wonderful people are. It's like again, overnight they changed. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been supported in ways that I could never expect. Even like a year ago, I wouldn't expect that I would be supported by people, whether emotionally, whether as a friend, whether as a neighbor. This is just some miracles to me. Miracles because,
Oh yeah. Miracles have
yeah,
exponentially
yeah.
expanded. So
Mm,
it's like it already was that life was miraculous on a
yeah,
daily basis. But in these last few months,
yeah,
is kind of expanded exponentially. And the it, all of a sudden things just turn out to be that. There you are. And it's like, how the hell did this even happen? Constantly. And I've been challenged because we've been doing a lot of construction work. So we had these natural construction buildings that we started, and we had a workshop, which was, it was only last week.
yeah. I
Jeez.
saw the photos. It was
It
beautiful.
seems to have been ages ago. I'm telling you, it's just crazy. Anyway, the weeks leading up to it and the actual week, because it was 5 days, were beyond intense. It was like, can I do more, even, like, because it was working from literally dawn to dusk to get everything ready. And the thing is, no, of course, physically we felt tired, but we felt so happy. I mean, like kids, like really children just playing and constantly finding new ways to do things. And the funny thing is how things materialized, where they came from, and the solutions. Is like, I never knew anything about construction before August last year, and now I'm sort of there, and all of a sudden I just see, okay, well, it's not working, why don't we do it this way? Constantly. It's like, where the hell is this intelligence coming from? I mean, it's just all so natural, and so despite the body sometimes feeling stretched to the limit and tired and all that, um, the joy, the celebration of being able to create something and see it unfold, and see the steps of how then it becomes this or that and the other, and along the way change your idea about what it's gonna be or how it's gonna be constantly. It's not like, okay, now we're gonna, oh well, maybe it's gonna be better that way. It's not once or twice a day, it's all day. It's always shifting, always changing, always adapting. And the one common denominator is simplicity. Like my whole life, everything in my life is sort of converging constantly into simplicity. So a lot of the time, as you said, like I can't even think. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, here it is. And usually it's during the night. So then I wake up the following day. Well, I do wake up during the night most nights, and I just breathe, I'm just there. And all of a sudden, all of these flashes of creative solutions and whatever just come up, but not like it used to be many, many years ago, like when we had a lot to do and then we went to bed and then all of the troubles and issues used to come up and then we couldn't sleep and all. That was a completely different thing. No, now it's like, yeah, I go to bed and then I usually wake up somewhere between 3 and 5 in the morning. Just, wake up. And I don't wake up because anything is waking me up. I just wake up. And then all of a sudden I'm enjoying the silence of the night, which I love so much. And all of a sudden, boom, I have this beautiful idea of, oh, wow, yeah, that's a really great one. And so then in the morning, because I'm working with friends, we're doing stuff together. Actually, alone, it would be impossible to do something like this. I mean, if it's tiring with others, then alone it would be just like in 5 years' time, it's going to be ready. So anyway, then I come, you know what? I had this idea. What do you think about this? And, oh, there she comes again with those ideas that come in the night, because like, oh yeah, or when I come up, oh, I had this idea. Well, was it during the night? Yeah, as usual. It's always like that time where everything is nice and quiet and my creative expression just, whoa, it's like a pot full of popcorn, but it's not noisy and it's not erratic and it's not sort of full of tension, stress, or anything like that. No, not at all. It's full of, wow, beautiful, creative, it's sparkling, it's tasty.
And it's joyful, isn't it?
Yes, and mainly it inspires joy. So if I had to qualify my life right now, it's inspired, joyful, and simple, though intensely alive in the body. So it's like my body, my muscles, everything is developing like crazy. It's like, oh wow, now I can do this. Oh wow, now I can carry that. Now I can, becoming stronger and stronger, more and more capable physically. But it is actually a pleasure, to have to be in a body that is more and more efficient, that I don't get tired. Like, for instance, it was really funny because the weeks that were building up to the workshop, we were working 12-13 hours a day out in the construction. So it was really physically intense. And there were moments where we like, oh gosh, I just want to go to sleep right now. But we had a deadline. And so, okay, I mean, we made this commitment. So now it just has to show up. So yeah, and we managed. And when the workshop started, the rhythm was completely different because the teachers, of course, were teaching and making a lot of intervals and all of that stuff. And so for us, it was a walk in the park. The workshop itself was like holidays from the weeks before, where we'd been really pumping iron. It's like we'd been at the gym really doing all sorts of strength training in order to arrive at the moment of, imagine you were an Olympic athlete and then you arrive there and then it's a piece of cake because you're super prepared, So the only challenge was really balancing the energies, because there were people from all sorts of different walks of life, different states of consciousness, different points of awareness, etc. And so just keeping the silence was the only challenge. So, you know, because my inner silence is the most precious thing always. So
I find
keeping
myself,
it.
I find myself much more quiet too now among people, because before I would have to step in and say my point of view.
And I don't have to anymore. It's like,
neither.
I don't care, you know, I don't care what everyone thinks, or if I think differently or not. It doesn't matter. It's just opinions.
And it affects their reality, not mine, you know, so that's why
I don't feel the need to argue about this or that. And so it was really interesting, because there's all these people here, some were camping here and all that, and I didn't, and they were having, of course, all sorts of discussions at lunchtime and dinner about politics and all of that stuff, and it was so irrelevant and uninteresting to me that I just, you know, I would go and sit somewhere or whatever, and never felt the urge to say anything, because it didn't mean absolutely anything to me. And I was like, oh wow, this is wonderful, you know, that it doesn't mean a thing. And so I don't agree with that one or disagree. It just is irrelevant, you know. The thing is not even having to have an opinion. It's such a peace. So that was the thing, keeping that silence within, no matter what.
And it's funny how all of these things just come so naturally. It's not like we have to sort of come and say,
you don't have to do it.
No.
Now I'm going to be like that. You notice you're being like that.
That's it. Yeah, you notice all these new things, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But it's not like
that's cool.
That I have to make a better version of myself, you
know?
No,
exactly. I remember all of that talk many years ago about being the better version of ourselves.
And many
we
people
are always there's no way not to be, you know. It's just the next moment is always the best moment. I mean, you're in the best moment right now all the time. That's the thing.
And there was actually that time, you remember, I don't know if you had that experience when, you know, when you start getting used to that now moment, because a lot of people are only now coming to this, that they can actually change. And it's a part of the journey to think, okay, I want to be the best version of myself. And that's why we don't say anything anymore, because you realize, well, that's just a part of journey, you know, it's a stage. And
it's normal, it's okay.
Exactly. And when they're sort of into that, I'll be the best version of yourself, and it just opens you up to that now moment. And then when you first come into the now moment, when I first started to really peeking into the now moment, then came the realization, oh shit, what if this is all there is? You know, that shock.
The beginning,
it's like, wow, I had these big dreams, I'm gonna make it this way and that way, you know, how as a human had
and then it's so simple and quiet.
My God. And then you realize, shit, is this all there is? And then when you actually come to terms with, maybe this is all there is. Maybe this is the happiest moment right now, you know, and then that's where you can then start to really feel comfortable in that now moment with whatever, you know, and start getting used to it and start coming back to it. Because it definitely is a space, it's a landscape that you have to get used to after being in all these other, you know, in all these other, sorry, I just have to click something. In all these other
I couldn't
spaces.
hear you, but it was my internet.
Oh, okay. So I've just clicked something, and hopefully that we can now go. But you were talking about something, and I remembered when you were talking, and I thought, oh, well, I'm going to pick up the thread there. And now I've forgotten about that thread.
Well, me too. Oh, that happens to me all the time, you know. It's like my son just gets like frustrated with me, because he says, you remember that time when this and that, where we did that, where we said that, and I'm like,
no.
Oh gosh, no, I have no idea. So, Mom, how is it possible even that it really wipes out completely.
Yeah.
It's like anything that's not necessary just goes away. And now in this moment, I have no idea what we were talking about before. But anyway, we're in the now moment. That's for sure. Ah,
It's funny to be like that because like it would feel to a human that is still, in the mass consciousness, it would feel very irresponsible. So all of the things that we are doing, it kind of, they feel very irresponsible to, but it's only because you are, when you are in that space, you're in a very, very different space, and all of the physical laws and all of the universal laws also operate in a different way.
the other day,
Go.
I heard there's two things I'd like to share now. Now I remember there's two things. One thing was there was this video from William Linville. There was this question people were asking, so what is 2023 going to be like? And then the Michael, who is his assistant, was asking the question, and the person in the question said that some very renowned masters have been saying that 2023 and the following years were going to be really tough and so on, and then he just smiles and says, well, the way I see it is that it only gets better and better, because with all of the shifts and changes that have happened recently and that keep on happening, the veil lifting, the veil of separation, and all of the aspects being integrated and all sorts, it just keeps on getting better. So basically, it's about tuning your perspective towards whatever you choose to be experiencing yourself. And so it's because our now moment is always within that perspective. Obviously, then everything else is a consequence of that. And my dear friend Joanna was sharing with me the other day, you know what? The other day I was with a client, and so I was sharing with the client, the body lives in the now moment. The body does not live anywhere else. And so this is why, and this is so simple, but it is so relevant. This is why bringing oneself into the body is, and of course through the breath in this case, because like if you breathe and you're in your breath, you're in your body. Therefore, you're in the now moment. And everything that is not in the now moment is in your thoughts and is stored in memory, in the cells, etc., etc. But it is just stored there. It is not the body. It is just there temporarily until it is set free from its past or future prison. So to have this perspective that as physical beings, we are not doomed, but blessed, and that having a physical body and being in 2023 and being here from here onwards is not a ticket to doom, but a blessing. This completely changes the way one can choose or not to perceive themselves, basically, because as you just shared, it's all about how we perceive something, and we perceive it from ourselves. And so as soon as we change that perception, everything just falls into place in our external perception. So as soon as we are capable of coming completely into the now moment, which is very physical on Earth, it is just very physical because that's the way it is. It's Earth. It's a physical reality. We are here to experience that the multidimensionality of physicality, the freedom of physicality, basically, that it is not the prison we thought it was, because we created it that way before. But if we're creating it in a new way, from a different perception, we can be living a completely different reality. So because we are so how can I say, so overjoyed, so fulfilled with the beauty of life here in physical form, be it the flowers, the insects, the sky, the grass, the water, whatever, you know, everything around us. You start becoming aware of its beauty when you start becoming aware of your own beauty, of your own physicality as it being beautiful, as it being a gift. And so that's the now moment. So the now moment really only contains everything that you require in the now moment. And so imagine a person's now moment is something scary or whatever. If in that moment a person can come into a space of safe peace within them, who knows what will change in the outside environment. Like even Tobias was in prison and in a great struggle before he actually came to terms with being in prison, and then became free from the idea that he was in prison. And that is such a great example for anyone. So one can be in a dire situation, and in that moment choose to let go of it as it being a problem. And of course, that can only happen when you realize that it doesn't matter if you're gonna live or die, if you're gonna survive that situation or not. Then there's this peace that comes about, and this not being worried about life and death is the moment when you really, really come into the body and realize that it is a vehicle, but it does not determine your experience in a way that having to preserve survival, that it was before a way of being outside of the now, because you were always alert towards what was possibly coming and what was similar to what had come before that was dangerous or that would threaten our existence. So once the struggle of being in a body basically is released, you realize it's the only place to be in the now moment. So that's why it is so hard to really, really, really grasp and live in the now moment if there are still many aspects of rejection with our humanness and our physicality. That's basically the key. So allowing oneself to come to peace with all of these things. Like, for instance, if a person is holding on to some sort of prior conflict, some sort of something that was done to them, that they something that they suffered.
The resentment.
Yeah, exactly. If someone is holding on to that piece of personality, because it's just a piece of personality, as a way to identify themselves as I am this, and as a way of perceiving reality as it being dangerous, harsh, this or that or the other, it will not really be possible to land completely in the now moment. It just, because there is this fear and there is this rejection and this fight and this anger towards
and all of these things can only really be resolved in the now moment, isn't
exactly
it? So they can't be resolved by mind going into the past and into the future, and
trying to forgive from that perspective or that. No, it's just
mind,
here.
And the thing is that the mind, because it mimics these things, it will mimics, it's part of the soul, it will mimic and try to be very similar to what it actually really happens, but It's a huge difference when you're trying to do it from the mind, like that,
Yes.
okay, being the best version of self, which is actually
That is
true. You know, it's true. We are, like you said, we are the best version
all the time.
always. So, but just trying to be that, you know, like it's from the mind, it is like you do certain steps and then you get there sometime in the future. But with all
And
of
there's
this,
always that time is always out there.
that's right. And always has to be like with this now moment, that for me was the trick really when it actually changed, was really to feel that presence, which I call the soul. So that presence, and that presence, what was incredible to me when I started to really feel it and to actually experience it in a tangible way, is how quickly it was. Like when I actually made the choice, okay, so I'm going to be present in this now moment. And then I said, okay, so I'm going to dedicate 2 hours per day for a week to actually just keep coming back to the present moment. And I've actually made that choice to actually make it real. It only took 2 days. Like, because, like with the mind, it was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be just some kind of huge hero's journey, of human meeting the soul. And it was just so quick. And all of a sudden, the day 2, I started to really feel that presence. It was tangible. It was real. I recognized what it was, and I know, and then I realized, wow, all of these knowingness, I have within me. I know what soul is like, even though as human, consciously, I never really experienced it in this way. But the knowingness of all of these things, of what is happening on the inside, it comes with all of this. So that was one of the biggest surprises that I had, because I actually made that choice, from years and years trying to be the best version of myself, to actually then making the choice, okay, I'm going to come into the now moment. And then, of course, you meet all of those things in the now moment, like all of those things that I tried to push away. And at times it's very uncomfortable, when you're accepting and letting those aspects to come home. And that takes a while to allow them to come home. And then you realize, like what you mentioned about Tobias, because when you have this presence of soul, all of a sudden, so much more becomes available to you. So much more of what you didn't realize who you are, because before then you realize, wow, who I thought I was just such a tiny little part of myself. It was just a tiny aspect. And I identified with that aspect so strongly that I thought that's all that it was, which was the mind. And so when I started then allowing the presence of the soul, all of a sudden, all these other worlds have opened to me on the inside, all these spaces. And as these spaces, then I started to explore them. That's when I realized that, okay, so that's what it means when they say, I can be free in prison. Because you see, it's not just a theory when people say, oh, Tobias was free in a prison, but how does that come about? It is because with the presence of the soul, all of a sudden, all these worlds on the inside, your wholeness of you is open to you. You have access to it. And so then you realize that also the physical is as sacred and as important to everything, to your wholeness of you, as anything else. It's not less or more, but at the same time, it is only a small part of who you really are. And then as you have then that space to go and be, then you can't ever be imprisoned anywhere, because all of a sudden, for me, it felt like I can walk through walls, like I can walk through all these physical walls, because I can be sitting in a room, and yes, I know there can be wooden walls or concrete walls around me physically, and yet my being is able to be free. My presence in all of these. I can actually either walk over it, jump over it, walk through it. It doesn't really, stop me. And then again, you can look at how, for example, let's say when you look at movies and all of these kind of mythologies, they actually talk about the truth. It's just they don't know, the mind doesn't really know how it actually works, because until it experiences the presence of the soul, then you can see, you know, that it's not only supermen and superwomen that can walk through walls, but it's actually really possible. But it is just that it's not possible in the same way as what the mind thought it would be. And now I remember what I was going to say, in addition to what you were talking about, when we're talking, how you were talking about the potentials and all of these things happening to you at night and all these new ideas and stuff. I was going to mention how different it is to what the human self, the mind self, imagined how this is going to be, you know, all of these possibilities and how things can come about. Because let's say the mind would say, the mind that is still stuck, you know, in a limited world has a certain idea. So it will say, okay, so if I want to do this, then I have to perhaps win lottery. And then all of these different things will be possible, you know, then I do this and this and this, and then I can actually achieve these dreams. But in this new way, it's actually very different. You don't have to even go, not that money isn't important, but because you see things from so many different perspectives and sides, and all these new possibilities and new ways of how to do certain things become available that before you didn't even see them or couldn't conceive of them, because you didn't have access to those spaces of yourself where those kind of possibilities exist. You know, they always were there. It's just you couldn't have conceived of them, but now you can. And so the way how things manifest now in life are very, very different to what I had, for example, an idea or how I would go about doing certain thing in the past, you know. And in the past, I wouldn't need a lot of mind, and I wouldn't need, for example, complex plans and complexity and learning new things and going to university and you know, coming with a piece of paper. Look, now I can do this because I have this piece of paper and stuff like that. And so this new way of how we manifest things, it actually is very, very different, because we kind of create from very, very different possibilities and potentials that before didn't even existed. But it feels like this lightning keeps going on, boom, aha moment and aha moment and aha moment.
Yeah,
like this, the way you described it, these sparkles, that's kind of what it feels like. And then also the body for me now feels very, very different. It doesn't feel heavy anymore. It feels like inside it doesn't have any barriers. It heals very quickly. Still you can feel the pain, but the pain is actually not intense or overwhelming. It's just like a feeling. It's a feeling. And also things can happen very quickly. Like, for example, I'm sort of finding out I have to be really careful what I think of and what I take as my ownership, what I take as honest truth. Because like I was walking on the beach and, the tide came in, I had to walk over the rocks. And all of a sudden I thought, wouldn't it be interesting? Wouldn't it be easy to slip and fall here? And then I had this image of slipping and falling, and boom, I slip and fall, so
it's much faster. It's so instant.
It's so instant. So you have to be so careful.
Yeah.
True. What you think. And you really now, I can see how like there's that cause and effect. But it's not cause and effect it's like how I feel, what I allow, what I own, it kind of almost instantly transfers.
Yeah, because you can have that thought and not own it.
That's it.
I find I've been playing a lot with that.
Yes.
Is that, if sometimes I grab a thought, like, because they're just hanging around, and I know that thought is just, I don't think that kind of stuff. And I can just let it go, or I can allow it to be mine, and
truth.
Boom, it manifests so fast. It's incredible. And I've been playing with that flexibility.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute. No, we don't want to own this one.
Because we don't want to like really be like, I don't want to be in that fear of, oh my gosh, I have to fear thoughts again. So, but it does actually, it doesn't require us, like it does require me to actually practice and play with this and play with this. Like it does, not that it doesn't come naturally, but it's like, okay, so I have to bring forth a student facet of me again, because this is something I have to learn again, because I don't know,
the degree
I've never
of responsibility, the degree of responsibility has grown. So
absolutely,
we have to be so much more responsible for what we allow as truth. But this like the moment you allow it as truth, it happens.
It's yours,
but it's that is fantastic, isn't it?
It's a joy to be, and it's what we actually wanted, because we wanted to experience what it's like to be creator. And is this part of just realizing, okay, so how am I creator? How does my consciousness interact with the energy that is mine? And that is why also that part that where you really think, okay, what other people think or what other people consider as their truth, you can really let it go, because it affects their reality. So my reality is affected by how I perceive, what I consider. And so now I've been playing in a much bigger way with this, not just okay my own immediate things, but thinking also like, okay, so what kind of a government do I want? Do I even want government? Do we want to let go? Do I want in my world even? And it's not like some kind of rebellion thing even, it's just considering and playing, okay, so what kind of world, what kind of society do I want? And now I can actually see that I can actually quickly change these kind of conditions as well, how I interact with institutions. Do I even want these institutions even, you know? And then perhaps these kind of institutions even topple by themselves. But it can be scary for some of the things, because it's kind of like, for me, let's say if I'm thinking about the government things, like I come into these spaces of myself that was so that I thought that was so out of my control, not control in a mind sense, but that they were unmovable, that I couldn't affect, but now even they are moving. And then another thing I wanted to sort of really touch upon is that thing, sometimes people get confused, because initially, like when you go into the now moment, you have to let go, because you are acting and owning and being mind. Like when you're in that space where you're being mind, where you're identifying with your mind so much, and mind, the way it acts is like it tries to control everything, but it's not its purpose, to be a controller of your life. And so initially it feels like you have to just let go and give in to everything, and just let whatever comes to your door, you allow it in. Whatever happens, you just welcome it, whether you initially like it or not, it's just you accept it. And then as you become more and more aware and you step into that part of yourself that is the soul, that is the master, then it's only then that you can actually start to make choices. You see, so people get confused, but okay, so do I allow and let everything happen? Or do I choose the reality and the potentials? Both. You let both are true. But it depends on which part of yourself you are actually acting out of in that moment. So as that part that I call the soul, and again, how we call these things, it matters not. So depending on which group or with what you subscribe to, you call different things. But for me, I call that part of soul as a soul. So when I actually can feel myself as that, in that capacity, on that level, I can make choices. I can choose potentials, huge ones, those overlying ones that affect my whole life. And then at different levels, I can make different choices, perhaps maybe just little daily choices, you know. So both are true. It's just that you become very proficient as to which part of yourself, which facet of yourself you're acting out of, or you are being in that moment, or focus. Perhaps that's the better word. They're focusing through which lens as to which kind of choices you're making. So both are true. You allow and make choices, you know. So none of these things, when you actually realize who you really are, when you get the more idea of who you really are, none of these things are contradictions. They make perfect sense, but not to the mind. You keep allowing that presence, whatever you call it. You keep allowing that presence. You keep allowing that presence, and that presence brings all this knowingness and knowledge and wisdom and stuff, and adds to what we call the human. It is not that it wipes away the human. The human changes to be much more fluid and flexible, and have porous boundaries. Because before,
I love that.
Before, inside I felt very solid, because it felt like I was in a world that was unsafe. The other people were unsafe, like all of this crime and God knows wars and God knows what else. But all of a sudden, when I realized the reality of me, which meaning that I'm in my own sovereign space, in completely safe in my own self, within, you know, surrounded by myself, surrounded by my soul self, more and more of me, which also I can keep owning and owning and owning, and more of me. And so my awareness of myself keeps growing and expanding. So when I realize that and I operate from that, then my human self, yes, can be very porous, no longer has boundaries. And then that communication between what I call the soul and human can really takes up on a whole new notch and a whole new level. And that understanding and the singing, the song of the soul becomes very clear, because you become very like feminine almost in this allowing. You allow that communication to just flow, and you allow the understanding, and you allow yourself to be completely honest and self-expressive. Because the soul self, one of the first things that you learn when you really start feeling that soul self is that it wants you real. It doesn't want you nice and kind and friend. All of those things are true, but it wants you real. If you're pissed off as hell, it wants you to express to it that pissed off as hellness. It's not afraid of any emotions. It's not afraid of your feelings. And it always is in allowance and acceptance and compassion towards you as a human. It welcomes your real self. So all of the most, what you thought of are ugly parts of yourself, the most ugly, the most loathsome, the most jealous, the most whatever, the most vicious, the most all of that, it welcomes your real self. And so then you interact with your soul self in such incredibly beautiful way. That's when you then really start to value yourself. Not only that, but you value realness with others. And that's when then you, of course, you go on that journey when you realize, wow, so many of my relationships are just based on the fakeness of me. And then, of course, later you realize you can't be fake, because whatever you create is the real you. Even if you create a fake self, a part of self, you know. But it's all of these different kind of stages, adventurous stages, even in the most times that it was hard. And it was like, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't go through another integration, you know, day, or another aspect integration day, or whatever it was. At the same time, there's this mesmerizing feeling, because I'm so mesmerized by your soul. And you keep, as you go through the journey, and I keep coming back to realize what your soul is and how it feels, you fall in love with it over and over again. You fall in love with yourself, and that's that incredible orgasmic experience, because you realize, oh my gosh, how perfect you are for you, you know. And it's just this constantly, these kind of processes that go on. It's never boring. And the body is absolutely part of this, your physical body, and it changes. And it also was even before, when I was, sort of feeling myself as a limited human, body was much more already at that time reflecting this reality. Because if you look at how it's built, body has billions of cells, all of them individual, and yet all of them working together as one. So reflecting that macro is micro, micro is macro, the big world is the little world is the same, is just like when you realize who you are, these myriads and myriads of selves working as one. And I can focus and I can do this act of consciousness. I can be this today, or I can be many today. I can be one today. I can feel just as my own oneness. But even when I am parts, I know that I am my own one sovereign self. And you become such a great person with others too, because you can just let them be, like you so beautifully explained, let them be who they are in that moment. Let them have their truths. All of these battles become completely unnecessary. So there's so much to enjoy, and there's just so much so different than what I would have thought, in the past. And I think we also have a question, dear Tanya. Have you read it?
Right. I'd like to answer it if
Okay,
you
yeah,
don't
go.
mind. And also
No,
we can both answer
go,
it actually.
Go. You go.
So it
you
says,
go.
by integrating an aspect, will it resolve all the issues surrounding the aspect and people who reflect the aspect? Or is it required to take actions to address each issue? So just like Alexis was explaining, there's not just or this or that. Actually, integrating an aspect is not what usually is thought to be. So usually, in general, people think that, okay, so you close your eyes, you breathe, you come inside, you become aware of the aspect, you invite it back home, whatever. And whenever you feel it's integrating inside of you, it's dissolving, you feel that warmth, that compassion, that love, all of that. And then people think, there, it's done. And I have a secret for you. It isn't. Integrating an aspect does not end there. So, okay, you become aware, you perceive, you release the whatever, the rejection, the judgment, the fear, whatever, and you do this this conscious, non-mental allowing and accepting within, and it all lands in your inner landscape of soul that holds all of this for you, and it starts gaining more fluidity as soul dissolves all of the distortions, all of the pain, all of the suffering, etc. And this inner alchemy starts happening, and then you feel in your whole body there's this peace, this, oh wow, this weight that is lifted. Something has definitely shifted. Perfect. Now you are a human being living a human life within a certain context, or different contexts, whatever, it doesn't matter, but that life continues. And so then what will happen next? So it's not like all of a sudden then you open your eyes and everything has vanished. No. The reality is, so you have set a certain energy in motion through your conscious awareness and allowing, and this has, of course, changed your frequency. So there's an adaptation within your DNA, adapts, everything adapts. But so you are the kind of the center point of then what starts rippling around you. So because it's not like all of a sudden you integrate something and boom, it's all changed. No, then for the rest to really change, what happens? You don't need to actually do anything per se, but you do. So what happens is then very naturally within the next 3, 4, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks maximum, something will occur in your reality, will come to you, the people, the situation, whatever, will come your way, where you are faced precisely with the whatever it was that you integrated. And in that moment, you can revert into automatic again. So all of a sudden, you can bring that aspect that you've integrated back up very easily, or you can be consciously aware, oh, wow, yeah, this is it. This is the opportunity, and become responsive, proactive, and now come from that space of consciousness where the integration happened inside of you, which is the space of consciousness of soul, that through that guiding principle of compassion, through that wisdom that is ever present within you, you will approach the situation, the people, whatever, in a whole new way that you don't know is possible because it's never happened before. So you just are allowing, and it will happen. It will happen. You will know what to do. You will know what to say. You will be surprised at what's coming out of your mouth. You'll be surprised at your behavior, but it will happen because you're allowing, you're getting out of your own way. You're no longer triggered into fear, into shock, into denial, into whatever used to trigger you in that situation. Though it might be hanging in the background there, you're aware that it's there because it will come up as a choice, as a possible choice. Though you've integrated the aspect, it will still come up as a possible choice. And in that moment, you get to choose, and you can choose. You're not incapable, you're not like, it's not like it's gonna grab you and push you out of consciousness and you're just gonna become again whatever it was that you were before you integrated in that situation. No, you can choose. And being aware of this, that you can choose, is really fundamental. So regarding the question, yes, integrating an aspect will resolve all the issues surrounding the aspect and people who reflect it, but the actions will have to be taken. However, you do not get to determine when and how those actions are taken because they come to you. So there is this kind of mental idea that somehow we then, by choosing, we then make things happen this or that way. And it's not that way. Things come to you always. Everything comes to you because you are the reflector of everything. So if you have changed your frequency because of that integration, the opportunity will come to you for in actual experience, because that's what this is all about. So if integration were just doing, I don't like the word doing because it's not something you do, but would just be allowing this within and really feeling the lightness and whatever, then we wouldn't really be human anymore, because this here on earth is all about the experience. So the experience will have to happen somehow, but don't worry about it. I mean, it will happen whenever it happens, but it's important to be aware that the story has not ended until it actually ends in experience. So you can say goodbye to a story consciously within yourself and be so aware and feel all of that compassion and everything. Yes, but the whole story only ends when you, as the actor in it, have a new role. So that needs to happen in experience, and it will happen naturally. No concern about it, how, when, what you can do for it to accelerate it. No. Now, in this question eventually could also be, so do I need to go up to so-and-so person that was also part of this whole issue and speak to them and whatever, you know, tell them what I think, or forgive them or whatever, you know? Do I need to do that? I don't know. No one knows. You don't know. No one knows. You know why? Because that is something that only you can feel in the moment that you feel it. So once you've done that inner part of integration, you will know, because your wisdom will indicate whether it is appropriate that you approach that person, and the opportunity will be created easily and naturally for that to happen. And I tell you one thing, because I'm sure all of you have experienced this. If you have to, your consciousness will not leave you alone until you do it. It's like boom, 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 boom. Like, you know, like you need to call that person to, and it's like call until you do it. It won't leave you alone. You'll have to do it, or it will become really uncomfortable. So no worries about that. If you have to speak to the person, you will know. If it's irrelevant, like it wouldn't change anything, there would be no result from that, you will know. And when the situation itself, which doesn't imply you knowing whether you need to talk to someone or not, when the situation just comes to you, you will know that it is the moment to choose. So you will know all of these things. And these things are not mental. These things, they come from your inner wisdom, the same place where you integrated within. So it's not something that one can define, that one can say, you know, there are these predefined steps. Whenever you do an integration, this needs to happen, this and this and this. Because then again, there are so many different types of aspects that are disintegrated. Some are really just, you know, very simple kids that all they want is just a little bit of love. And so then others are so wounded and so far off in the dark side, and some are feeling evil, and some are feeling that, some are super controlling, etc. Aspects integrate in so many different ways. I mean, it's not a ready set kind of recipe book for integration. It does not exist. It cannot exist. It's unique, but it requires this dance of trust with one's soul, because only the soul can integrate. Only the soul has that compassion.
And people, when it's asked this question and it's from the mind, mind doesn't realize that in between all of these spaces there is the space of the soul. That's where that wisdom is. And when you're integrating, you just know, like you said, you keep saying, you just know these things. And when you open yourself up to your soul, to your greater being, all of this comes with it. And that's why, like, if you find yourself, is my mind asking this question, or is my wisdom asking this question? That is the knowingness there. That's how you know. If the mind is asking questions, there are no answers within it. When you ask the question and there's knowingness in the presence of your soul in the question, there are also all the answers.
Right.
But the soul's way of doing things is experience. So if you ask the question, then the journey unravels. That journey of that integration of that particular aspect will unravel. When you choose the potential, so let's say you choose a potential where you integrate this aspect, it's a journey then. It's a journey with all the different experiences, because it is the joy of the soul to experience and to bring then all of that into wisdom. And that's how it continuously expands. That's how you continuously expand. And within that is everything. There is the beginning, the middle, and all of the bits, and the end. That's the difference between the mind and the soul bits. The mind is just a very dry question with nothing in it, nothing else in it. When you ask from your soul self, you actually then, it's a journey that unravels, and it has everything. And also another thing with aspects that I didn't realize, especially the ones that were quite that I found it really hard to accept, was that because aspects are just part of myself, they are divine, they also consist, and they are also sacred. And so within that sacred, and within that sacredness, they have gifts. They have incredible gifts. And so when I actually own that aspect, it's not, you see, because within this work, it's not just like, again, those dry words. It is a whole experience. So when I integrate that aspect, not only that, then I feel more whole because another part has come home. In reality, I've just become aware that that too is me. And that consciousness feels like love has flooded that part of itself. And so that aspect then feels loved, and some of them turn into facets, and facets then continue to grow, meaning they continue to change and develop and grow. Like a human part is the facet of the soul, meaning that has freedom to experience, to grow, to make choices. And some other aspects, they just go into neutral. That was my experience. But still, it doesn't matter what happens to that aspect. It still brings its own wisdom, its experience, and within it also it has solutions. So when I integrate that aspect, and then I deal with another human being, for example, that was part of that particular game, now this integrated aspect all of a sudden knows how to deal with that human, because this aspect that is now a facet absolutely understands the game that it was playing. And so it knows the intricate details. It will know, it will bring the words. It will know, do I let this person go? What do I have to do with this person? Do I let them go? Do I continue? Do I blah, blah, blah? And so you're never alone within any of this. You have such incredible help. And that's another thing that I actually wanted to sort of, because we've kind of come to the end, I feel, but I wanted to finish on that. What I've been also realizing, what has been coming up for me is this to feel gratitude. Because they're like, even when, for example, let's say if I'm feeling annoyed or cranky or something, there is so much in my world, in anyone's world, that is working well, that I can feel gratitude, that you only realize when something stops working. And I'm realizing, wow, I didn't appreciate this thing when it was working for hundreds of years, and now all of a sudden it's not working. And now it's like, oh my gosh, problems, So this has been like, wow, just how much of my reality is actually working. And then that's the second thing, is just realizing this incredible abundance in everything, in every direction, with everything, even just with not just, but with feelings, with music, with creativity, with things available to watch, to immerse, to play with. Even if I couldn't even leave my room and I just had, like just a small room of office to play in, there is just within that space, there is just such incredible abundance of so many things that we've created. So these were like, if anyone's sort of wondering how to navigate these times with panache, with joy, with flowing, is feel grateful and notice all the things that are in your life right now that you feel grateful. Because gratitude, feeling of it, not just thinking, but feeling of it, is like an explosive. It's like an atomic bomb, neutron bomb. It's like neutron star, like one of those supernovas, that because it just has such incredible, powerful effect on your vibration, on your radiance, on your life. And as soon as you start gratitude, then that abundance kicks in, that feeling of abundance. Because all of a sudden you just realize, oh, I can feel grateful. I can feel grateful that my microphone's working. I can feel grateful right now that my headphones are working, computer's working, light is working, air conditioning is working. Absolutely everything is working. My chair, you see, once you start realizing how many things are actually working and how many things are actually right, And then that then helps you to also refocus, because remember how we were mentioning, I'm just saying to people perhaps listening, like, remember how Tanya and I were talking about how the manifestation is so instant. So if you now all of a sudden feel grateful, and all of a sudden you notice what incredible abundance of things you have, that builds on itself, and all of a sudden all you see is abundance, and you focus now on the abundance of everything. And the more you focus on it, the more it is. And again, it is not like the mind was thinking abundance will be. It's like, okay, I'm gonna buy, maybe it will be for you buy a lottery ticket or something like that, you know what I mean? But it's just this new world is abundant in a completely different way, in this cornucopia or panacea, or all these words, you know, that it just grows and grows and grows and grows in many exponential ways, you know, kind of like in that Harry Potter movie, in one of them where they touched something and it just expanded, you know, you touch a cup and it became 2, and you touch it again, it became 4. It is that kind of feeling. And everything that you touch with your gratitude feelings, with your gratitude feelers, they kind of feel like an octopus, you know how it has those kind of hands, many hands. This gratitude, you just expand into your world and touch everything with it, with this feeling of gratitude, and see how things change, you know. But it's not from a controlling place, it's from allowing it. You just feel grateful, and then the more you feel grateful, the more your energy is going to provide things to be grateful for, and before you know it, you're in a completely different world. You're on new earth, you know, even just if you feel gratitude.
Yes. It is a safe path to living completely in the now moment. And really, basically, people talk a lot about love. And this is it. This is it. Love is just simply this permanent gratitude towards everything, towards everyone, towards life. And it just expands and expands, and it's never ending. It is infinite. So gratitude is really another word for love. And that's where the joy comes from. That's where the joy comes from, because then you just become this innocent child that is at the same time absolutely wise, experiencing itself constantly in love, in gratitude, in joy. Thank you so much, Alexis. Such a beautiful, beautiful ending here. Wow.
Yes, and it's always such joy to play with you, dear Tanya. Always. We just complement each other in such beautiful ways.
So perfectly.
And everyone that is joining our shows, so much gratitude for you, because we feel you, and all of the people that interact with us in any way, through, you know, the internet, on social media, and through our websites. Thank you. And yeah, let's keep surfing.
Yes, thank you all very, very much. We're both available to work with you in any way you choose. And we both actually work very personally and in different ways that I see very complementary. It's beautiful, just like our dance here, it's the same thing. So if you're feeling out of sorts or overwhelmed, or, you know, you feel you could really do with some support, I mean, yeah, we're here for it. That's one of our joys. That's one of our meanings of life, really, to just be here and experience the miracle of each one, and to be able to witness that every single day. So thank you for your donations as well. They are received with immense gratitude and joy. And see you next month for another Living in the Flow.
Until next time, indeed. Thank you.